Hey, it's Declan Ryan from whoisdeclanryan.com, and if you've been following me with on my journey through Maxwell Maltz's book Psycho-Cybernetics, welcome back. And if not, if it's your first video, then skip on over to video 1. I think it'll be worth your journey if you've got any interest at all in Maltz's work. Now, in this chapter, it's really fascinating because he really brings to bear his knowledge and his experience as a plastic surgeon, and in fact he compares physical scars and how they heal up and how they form a ridge if they're not repaired properly, compared to emotional scars. Now, a good plastic surgeon will make a wound heal without that awful ridge, which so often happens with scars. And he explains how he does that with correct suturing, that sort of thing. And he explains the exact same kind of prescription for healing emotional scars. Now, emotional scars can't be gotten over by just quick fix kinds of things. They have to be removed, as in with a scalpel. You can't. What happens with scalpels is what happens with scars is they form kind of like layer on layer on layer on layer until they become calloused. And the self-esteem is very similar to that. If something has happened to scar the self-esteem, to really damage it, particularly if it's been repeated, like humiliation when you were young, or putting your hand up in class and people made fun of you, or you standing up as in your company and being ridiculed time and time again because of your ideas or whatever you perceive to be, then that's going to form layer on layer on layer. So the best way of getting rid of these is via a mental scalpel, and the prescriptions that he goes into there are really quite fascinating. Generally, when he refers to generally when people take offence easily, it means they've got they've a very small self-esteem, and in fact he compares that to a small potato. In fact, in one of his mental training exercises, he suggests that you go to the store and you pick a big potato and a small potato, even a shriveled up one. And he says you put those on your desk, or you take a photograph of it and you put it on your dashboard. And at the end of the day, at the end of each day, you ask yourself, have you behaved like a small potato or a large potato at the end of the day? Now, it might sound daft, it might sound a little bit childish, but believe it or not, all of these things are recipes for success. Maltz has used these over and over again, prescribed them over and over again, so as daft as they might sound, there's a lot of sound logic to it. In fact, if you compare how easily somebody gets offended, how quickly they take offence, there's always a correlation between that and the size of their self-esteem and the size of what they feel about themselves. So there's always a connection there. Now, offence is easily taken as a direct signpost of low self-esteem. So, for example, he goes into a really good example. He refers to this woman that used to work at a medical practice, and she was actually a patient that came to see him, and she was always offended by all these Polish jokes that were constantly being told. This is at a time in the States where there are lots of Polack jokes. It was just the main sort of thing, and the Irish equivalent of that is the Kerryman jokes. But she was taking offence where people didn't necessarily mean it. Maltz didn't know that she was Polish, but I think a lot of people that didn't know that she was Polish because she'd married an American with a standard sort of American name, not giving away anything about her Polish lineage. And he compares that to a guy that he was out golfing with, who had been cracking jokes about doctors, medical blunders and all that kind of thing. And Maltz didn't take it personally, because you know, his esteem was big enough for it to just, like, you know, water off a duck's back. He knew that he felt from his colleague that the guy was just saying it in jest. He wasn't saying it to wound, and he wasn't saying it as an insult. And so he took it in the joke that was intended. In the same way as, you know, I'm of Irish lineage. If somebody tells an Irishman joke, you know, 9 times out of 10 it won't mean anything to me, because the person is telling it purely as a joke. Now, in that 1% occasion, then, well, you know, no, pretty much 10 out of 10, I'm really not bothered. So it's fascinating how different. What's the word he's looking for? Different slights to the character can be interpreted. One is interpreted as a slight if you've got a small self-esteem, and the other one is interpreted as a joke. And it really is very largely dependent on the image that you hold of yourself. So he suggests that you develop an epidermis, a covering for your self-esteem, and that way things can just bounce off it. Because at the moment, if your self-esteem is exposed, then obviously the slightest thing that's going to bounce against it is going to hurt, it's going to affect you. And he compares that to the body. If the body was walking around without an epidermis, which is the main layer of skin around your body, it would get infected. So having an epidermis around it saves you from any of these kind of infections. So one of the mental training exercises that I got out of this, which is you know, it's really effective. I've started doing it, and you know, it's actually quite good. He suggests as one of his prescriptions that you keep a daily success diary. Now, there's many of the things that he's been talking about which I did, you know, habitually, even up until just a few months ago. I have sort of, you know, through the lessons learned from this book, constantly in a learning process, strayed into the failure side of things. And so he says that you know, every day, with every accomplishment that you make a note of it in your success diary. And you know, I think even successful people do this as well, because it's just a useful thing. It's along the lines of journaling. You making a note of it to yourself. This is what I did today. This is the situation that I avoided today. I avoided blowing my top here. I avoided reacting in a way that I would have reacted only a few short months ago. And so all of these things are subliminally reinforcing your self-esteem and showing you, confirming to you that you're on the right path. So I hope you got as much out of this chapter as I did, if you are reading it along with me. And yeah, so I really look forward to diving into chapter 11, and hopefully I'll see you then. In the meantime, if you got some value out of this video and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment down below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. In the meantime, make it a great day.